All right. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Wargames podcast. We have, in fact, made a return for another, special edition of the podcast. Joining me once again, as per usual, is the Lobster, and also Mr. Rivera and Mr. Scott from the 5th Special Forces Group. Thank you for joining us tonight, gentlemen.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
So as most of you guys that have been watching the channel are aware, the guys from the 5th have joined us for a couple of joint operations at this point, and for some reason my video just went all wonky there. But anyways, they have joined us for a couple of joint operations, been kind of hanging out with us here and there. As some of you guys who are kind of old heads around here know, we don't really do joint operations all that much at all, and we really don't do multiple joint operations with the same guys. But we've gotten kind of lucky in the sense that the guys from the 5th reached out to us, as they do meet our standards and have a lot of the same mindset in terms of what we do and so on. Which is why you've seen them do 2 joint ops with us and are going to be doing future joint operations with us, including actually being involved in our current deployment, which is something that I'm really looking forward to. I know a lot of the S-Shop guys are looking forward to. A couple of the guys from the 5th actually joined in our S-Shop meeting this week, where we plan out everything for the deployment and so on. So I guess kind of the first thing we'll get into for the podcast tonight is, what is the 5th Special Forces Group in terms of a realism unit in ArmA? What do you guys do? What are you recruiting? What's your recruitment requirements? So on and so forth.
You want to take that, Scott? Or
Yeah, I guess I can take that top. So 5th Special Forces Group, obviously, we're basically a hardcore milsim group. We run ODAs, which is a 12-man team. I'd say our membership right now, we've got probably about 25 members that are active. There's probably about 50 total if you include the reserves, but I'd say we play with hardcore settings. We're a first person, so I know 506 you guys use the third person. We stick to the first person though. We've been around probably most of us on the team started out with the 75th Ranger Regiment, and then we switched over to the 5th Special Forces Group probably about a year and a half ago to the 5th. And I guess the reason why is because there were so many units that popped up with 75th after we had our set up. And we actually noticed on a couple websites some of our material was showing up there, so we decided to.
Yeah, funny how that happens, huh?
Yeah, so we switched gears a little bit to the 5th, and I think a couple other 5th Special Forces groups that popped up, but I'm not sure if they're still around. But yeah, we've been playing really for about 3 years together. So, as far as recruiting goes, yeah, obviously we're still recruiting right now. I'm not sure exactly how many ODAs we'd like to kind of get up to. We do want to keep it small, so we're very selective on who we're kind of allowing through the gate these days. We have a 25-day selection period, SFAS. Then at the end of that, we go through Call X1, Call X2, and then to earn the Green Beret, you actually do a Robin Sage event. So we have a map set up just like Pineland, and we really play as as true as we can. With the possibilities that ArmA can provide us to what the 5th Special Forces Group actually does, and we honor, I guess, what they do day in and day out as best we can.
And then you guys come hang out with us and it's complete fucking chaos.
Fucking love it.
Like, what the fuck is going on, man? But no, that's as Scott was saying there, we on a lot of the stuff we very much so see eye to eye, especially on the professionalism and so on, and standards and things like that, which is a huge reason as to why we did 2 joint ops together already, and like I said, more to come. And I remember telling you guys the first night we actually sat down and spoke that the whole reason you guys even got a fucking meeting was the sense that your joint operation request wasn't typed out like a fucking 12-year-old wrote the goddamn thing. And I know that sounds pretty crass to some of you guys, but honestly, when you're reaching out to another unit to do a joint operation request, especially with the way our stuff is set up, and you actually make a post on our forums to request to do a joint operation and stuff, that's your first introduction, is that request, that message. And when it looks like a child wrote the fucking thing, it's a good chance that you don't have the same level of maturity and requirements and so on that we're going to have, because I would never let one of my guys reach out to another unit and word a message and just poorly like that and have shitty grammar and spelling and stuff like that, because it makes you look unprofessional. So I was happy when I seen your guys' message. I remember telling the CO, like, yeah, I'm gonna reach out to these guys and actually sit down and talk with them, which he was surprised, because I'm always the dude that just immediately says no. Looks like an idiot wrote it. No, he doesn't know how to spell sergeant correctly. No, fuck off. But everybody was kind of surprised when I was like, yeah, let's do something. So I guess the next thing to kind of get into when it comes to the 5th and so on, what are your guys' actual recruitment requirements? Do you have age limit? Can you have like whatever name you want? Can I be Sergeant Boo Boo Kitty Fuck? What?
So right now, we've actually been
By the
recently
way, that's
discussing.
just so you know, that's my porn name. So if you ever really want to get a good look at how I'm
Oh,
doing,
yeah.
just search Boo Boo Kitty Fuck.
He's
Yeah,
the
I'll
click
definitely
commander.
look that up tonight.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as age, we've actually been discussing that pretty recently, like bouncing around ideas what we should limit it to. But yeah, we've always had an age limit. Right now, it's currently at 16. As far as names, yeah, we don't allow people to have like celebrity names, maybe like famous soldiers. Like we're not going to have an Audie Murphy in our ODA, stuff like that. We don't want somebody to come in and then just kind of take that name.
No private piles?
No piles.
That's the best application ever.
Not
Yes.
unless you can prove that Pile is really your last
Yeah.
name.
Right. Yeah, we just got a new guy named Stoner. I believe he was with us at the last join up, so I don't know if there were some people that saw his name. Is like what the fuck's going on there? But yeah, he's actually active duty right now, and his real name is Stoner. He sent us a picture, so he.
Oh, right on.
Isn't Stoner like a weapon manufacturing thing too? I think
Yeah.
like guns. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, they made the Stoner 63s and so on that were kind of the early successor to the Saw. So what about you guys specifically? I guess I'll go to you first, Rivera, since you're kind of the ranking guy here. What got you into ArmA? Are you prior military? Do you just like military simulators and just kind of the idea of military stuff, or what?
Yeah, I actually did serve in the Army for a few years. I was a 15 whiskey UAV operator. I got out a little more than 5 years ago now. I don't know. I always played a lot of games growing up and everything. When I got out of the Army, I had a lot more free time to get back into that, I guess. And
Yeah, amazing how that works.
yeah, I had watched like I want to say like Twitch, definitely YouTube channels and stuff. And I got into DayZ back in the ArmA 2 days.
Mhm.
That's really how I got into that. And then towards the end of ArmA 2, right before ArmA 3 released, I started playing like the PlayerUnknown's Battle Royale, his like first iteration of it, I guess, back in ArmA 2.
Yeah.
And then when ArmA 3 came out, he was making the mod for that, so that's why I decided to jump to ArmA 3. And then I don't know, I want to say I found probably some milsim videos on YouTube. It's kind of same way I went to DayZ.
Mhm.
I thought like, yeah, that looks cool as shit. I like the organization, the communication, everything. That's kind of my favorite part of it.
Right.
So I decided to look for a group. I found what at the time we were, like Scott said, we were the 75th. I found the 75th and ended up joining.
Right on. So what about you, Scott?
Gosh, Top, I'm older than you, so
I know
I'm
you're an
gonna dig,
old motherfucker.
Yeah, I'm gonna dig back, man. So I'm prior Air Force. I was active duty for 10 years. I was a 2W071, which is a munition systems technician. So I was a ammo troop, professional alcoholic. And
So you're gonna get a gig excited in chat there. Ford is a maintainer for a U2, so he's Air Force as well.
oh shit, okay. So yeah, when I hear your JTAC calling out, asking whatever the A10 is hauling, I'm like, oh shit, I know all that munition system. So I get a bump in my trousers after hearing that shit. But
Right.
yeah, shit, man. I go back probably to late '90s, getting into PC gaming, and dude, I remember being in base housing and setting up like a LAN party in base housing, and
Mm.
having all the guys in my shop, fucking 8 of us sitting in a living room, uh, playing shit. God only knows what then. It was like Unreal Tournament.
Hmm.
Quake and probably Doom,
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah. And then there was a game that came out, Operation Flashpoint, and I think that was really kind of the birth of ArmA way back in
Yeah.
the day.
Yeah, 2001, man.
Yeah,
That was a great year.
yeah. So, I mean, that's how far back I go. But then, hell, I got out of PC gaming for a while, and then I came across, probably as most of the viewers here, fucking Jester 814 or Luton. I came across those videos on YouTube, and I was like, holy shit, this is some good stuff right here. So, and then to Captain Rivera's point there, I found the 75th. It was a small unit, and they were just kind of building up their team after I think JSOC had kind of dissolved. So our CO was starting to build up the 75th. So I was fortunate enough to get in there and kind of learning the ropes. I didn't know shit about ArmA, and these guys pretty much taught me everything.
Now, how much of a transition was it for you being aircraft, or being Air Force, I should say, going into what is essentially an infantry role and learning kind of the tactics and techniques and verbiage and so on of the infantry? Did you feel it was automatically a little bit easier for you because you already had, military knowledge? So obviously the discipline and all that shit is easy for you, but like the terminology and shit like that, did that take a while for you to grasp, or was it, fairly quickly you were like, oh yeah, I understand this shit?
Um, I don't know. It's like different levels, I guess. So like as far as the discipline goes, obviously coming from the military, that's universal. So like radio communication, I was used to talking to air traffic control towers whenever I cross a runway with bombs. So, that kind of lingo is kind of universal, but when
Right,
it
the
starts
whole
getting
call and
into
response type shit and so on.
yeah, but when Captain Rivera starts talking about some specific shit that he learned in AIT, you bet my head is fucking
Mm.
spinning, and I'm asking a lot of questions. So, I mean, weapon systems and stuff, like, I know a few of them, but as far as like launchers go, besides the law, that's stuff I had to learn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah, a
and
lot of that I was actually taught, like he said, in my AIT, we actually had like a foreign weapon or a foreign equipment identification course,
mm-hmm.
mostly just Russians, a lot of US stuff too, some Chinese. But I had a lot of training, like real life training with that, especially communications. I did a lot of communication with, FAA, ATC. When we weren't flying, you would still have a role to do on the flight line or wherever. Sometimes you'd be put to as a RTO, where you'd be in the TOC handling like 4 or 5 different radio channels, as well as Cypernet, Jabber. I don't know if anybody knows what those
Oh yeah.
stuff are. It's basically like the text messaging systems and
Yep.
everything. So
That's
yeah, definitely a lot of communications I handled.
that's honestly the thing I'm waiting for, is to see a unit that goes so hardcore they simulate a talk, and like going through all of that bullshit to, get cleared with ordnance and calling a JAG officer and shit like that. Like, I want to see somebody go that hardcore, not because I want to take part in it. I just want to see somebody do it, just so everybody can be like, wow, this is boring as fuck. We're sitting here shooting at guys 1,000 meters away, and we're waiting 30 minutes for fucking an AWT to get up here and put a Hellfire on them. And oh, by the way, fucking JAG didn't clear it because we couldn't get fucking declaration of hostile intent, so we're shit out of luck.
Yeah, right.
So what made you guys decide with the Green Beret? Or well, I guess first the 75th and then transitioning to Green Berets. Like why specifically the 5th rather than one of the other bats, or of all the fucking, especially infantry elements out of there, especially the soft elements, why go from the 75th to the 5th?
Well, funny enough, we were looking at like just different SF units. We had already established we wanted to be SF. Um, really, it was down to a couple different groups. I believe the last two we were into was the 3rd SFG and 5th SFG. But at the time, one of our active guys, he was active duty at the time as well. He recently got out. Um, but he was basically in a support unit that was attached to the 3rd SFG. So to kind of spite him, he really wanted to be us to be the 3rd SFG. We're like, nah, we're just gonna be the 5th.
Yeah, fuck off. We know that's what you want, so we're gonna do the opposite. That's
Yeah,
true
exactly.
friendship right there.
And then, I mean, unfortunately, that event probably a lot of people had heard on the news that happened in the 5th over in Africa. And I think that's where a lot of other 5th SFG milsims started popping up. And
Right.
Scott mentioned earlier that they all kind of dissolved right now. I think maybe there's a couple more out there, but
That's actually something that I never asked you guys. For us, we have a very strict policy in that we don't reenact any real life conflicts that any unit has ever been a part of, but especially the first 506. We don't reenact any actual conflicts that they've been a part of. We've done like Black Hawk Down, fun missions and stuff like that, but we've never, done like an actual deployment around situations where first 506 was deployed or anything like that. Do you guys do any actual operations based on what the 5th has actually done in real world, or do you just kind of do what we do and just kind of make stuff up?
I would say no, we don't do any of the missions true to life that the 5th has done. I don't know, I guess my personal opinion on that, I don't know if I speak for the group on this, but like I said, we want to honor what these guys do every
Right.
day, and I would hate to diminish anything that they've ever done in real life, portraying them. So a huge amount of respect that we have for those guys. So that's just my personal opinion. Captain, if you got anything to add there.
no, I'm exactly in the same boat. We have done missions that are based off of some missions that have been done in real world. Nothing that we've never really like. I don't want to say mocked, but I guess mimicked or whatever the word
Right,
is.
yeah.
Something that the 5th has done in real life, but we've done some like throwback ops. Sometimes every now and then we'll do like 90s era missions, or
Hmm.
we'll do whatever the Iron Front mod I think it's called for the World War II
Right.
stuff, and we'll do stuff for like we'll kind of play as the 101st back in Normandy or something like that.
Hmm.
But really, as far as real world stuff, that's kind of what we just limit ourselves to.
Right.
And if we do like, we'll take like inspiration from campaigns or operations that actually happen, but we won't actually try to mimic them, real world, because you can't really do that in ArmA anyways.
Right.
And I'd say too, like we try to stick to the era of like the late 2000, 2008, somewhere around that time period. So like Blue Force Tracker, it's something that we used to have in our operations, and then we went away from it and we went to just straight dagger. So we try to put emphasis on making ARMA as like, I guess, realistic as possible with limited technology.
Right.
So I got a load of shit if anybody's seen my video or anything, but I had the BFT up the whole fucking time because I play on a widescreen and it doesn't affect my field of view, but caught a little bit of shit from that and flack from the guys about, hey, fucking why is BFT up? Well,
because there's a bunch of moving parts out here. God damn it.
God damn it, it's my handicap. Fuck
Yeah,
off.
we'll call it. He's running an operation with Google Glass on.
Mm-hmm.
What does Captain Sahagan call it? A handicap? Yeah.
Yeah, we call it tablet simulator. That's what that's majority of the time what our JTACs are doing is playing tablet simulator. Because one guy's in the UAV and the other guy's just watching Blue Force.
Hey Top, I want to go back to what you were talking about with the application that we put in for the join op that you were talking about earlier. We got to give credit to Captain Sahagan for that, our CO.
Yeah,
he's the one that framed that up, and as far as what he's done with the unit, all credit goes to that guy. I think you're right on point as far as like those requests go. It's basically a resume.
Yeah.
So for any units out there, put your best foot forward, and that's going to open up doors. And I think that goes with real life shit. Anything that you do, put your fucking best foot forward, and it's going to open up doors.
Yeah, exactly. If you word something professionally and like I said, in my own fucking, as precise as a sledgehammer way of saying it, don't word it like a fucking idiot, and you have a much better chance of, going somewhere with it. Um, and obviously, Captain Sahagan is not here. As you said, he is a huge part of your guys' unit. But do you guys happen to know, like, what made him or made you guys want to reach out to us in terms of doing a joint operation?
I think what was that? Either you, Scott, or maybe Savage had brought it up. We had
Yeah, it was both of us.
we had been thinking about doing joint ops. I mean, we've done it before, but I think just the topic came up of doing a joint op again with maybe a larger unit. And I'm pretty sure it was Savage had brought you guys up. He watches drums videos on YouTube.
Well, what is, I guess, how do I want to word this? Not necessarily what do you guys prefer, but because you guys have done joint operations with other SF elements and stuff in the ArmA community and so on. How different was the experience from doing something with, I believe it was the third Team 3, the SEAL Team 3 that you guys said that you've done joint ops with? How different is the experience between doing a joint operation with an SF element compared to like our line infantry element or combined arms, really?
Well, as far as the SEAL team guys, completely different. Mostly because just how their operations go and the settings that they use. Their CEO Vandal, he I don't know how to say this. He's much more realistic in their operations than we are. We like to say that we are realistic, and we are, to a certain limit. But theirs, I mean, they'll do basically traveling to the AO, and they'll do that literally for hours of
Right.
walking or even swimming and stuff like that. And then once they get to the AO, they'll basically get in a firefight for about half an hour, and then they'll head back to RTB, and that's their operation. So definitely a lot more action. Their unit is more, definitely a niche unit. They definitely have guys that prefer that over than what we do, what you guys do, whatever any other unit does. But
Vandal's a great guy, the CEO of the SEAL unit that we play with. They use a lot of mods. So that's always, when we're looking to do a joint op, we always want to make some kind of concession, like, hey, what mods do we need to run? Would you guys be willing to run these mods? So it's things that we kind of learned along the way playing with those guys.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, playing on their joint operations, it's fun. Just because they add so many different elements that maybe our S4 guys haven't implemented into our missions. So it's cool to learn and see how we can kind of bridge the gap on, what was the fun experience and what was something that, maybe we don't want to do. So it's always a great learning experience to play with any other unit.
So I guess the question I would have off the back of that is, is it noticeable for you guys I guess kind of what would the word be? I guess kind of concessions that have to be made at a large scale operation compared to something smaller scale with like 10, 15, 20 guys on it? Because I've done a lot of both, obviously, with like our Wednesday squirrel stuff and stuff like that. But is it as noticeable for you guys the differences in terms of like the amount of stuff that's there, the amount of AI, the amount of or lack of thereof objects and like set pieces and stuff like that in a large scale operation in terms are compared to a small scale operation because you don't have the overhead on the server to be able to do all the really cool shit?
oh yeah, definitely. With our operation with the SEAL team group as well, it was mostly our two units kind of operating. I don't want to say separately. We were in the same AO. We were hitting different objectives within that same AO, and
Mhm.
usually we did, I want to say 3 or 4, maybe more different joint ops with them. But usually how it ended up was we both kind of collected intel at those objectives, and then end up bringing us to like a main operating area for the enemy, and we both kind of ended up there and then attacked that location. But with you guys, definitely a lot more moving parts. And honestly, with our with our first joint op together, with you guys, that was probably the most thing that I was worried about. I was nervous about was, man, I don't know if I'm going to utilize these guys more, just because I'm not used to having all this support, all
Right.
this basically airframes in the air. You guys have UAVs, definitely all the ground infantry you guys have.
I'll tell you, we were kind of nervous too going into that first join op with you guys. That we spend a lot of time on movement. Like a lot of our attention and training is on movement, and we were concerned that if we're element bounding, it's going to be holding up the whole task force. You guys were right on our heels working down that peninsula, so it was definitely on the forefront of a lot of people's minds that we had to keep the pace going for
Right.
all those guys behind us to keep you guys.
Well, that is one of the things that's, incredibly different for us compared to, reality. We move a whole hell of a lot more and a whole hell of a lot faster than any real line infantry unit will ever fucking move. And, we basically move at a rate that, I mean, is even faster than what SF guys are ever going to fucking move. So that definitely takes some getting used to. But that kind of brings us into the join ups that we've done, and I definitely want to talk about these a little bit. And the first join up that we did, I was Zeusing for it, but you guys had the TAC-P attached to you guys, and I know there was like a ton of comms going on, a bunch of crazy shit, amounts of communication and shit that you guys aren't necessarily used to, especially with all the information flow coming in from Dagger and so on. So what was that like for you guys being on the ground and having a TAC-P attached to you and getting all this information from air assets and so on, and having the potential to call in air and shit like that? Was that a bit of a shock for you guys? Like, holy shit, this is fucking information overload.
Well, I'll let Rivera handle that one because he was on comms that night.
Yeah, I was on all the comm freaks that night, so definitely had a lot of info flowing through both my ears. I mean, I definitely handled a lot of information on comms like that when I was in the Army.
Mhm.
So really, I just kind of learned to just filter everything out unless you hear your call sign.
Yep.
And I've been real good with that. So I mean, really, anything I hear on the radio that doesn't have my call sign in it, I don't pay attention
Yeah.
to at all, to be honest. So that's usually how I work with it. And then our second join op, it was Savage. He was the one that was on y'all's comms as well. He was my communication sergeant, basically my RTO, and he's active duty Air Force right now. And I know he handles a lot of radios. So
Yeah, and he did a fucking shit hot job. I know after we got done, he was kind of like, "Oh, my comms could have been better," so on and so forth. And I was like, "Dude, your fucking comms were amazing. Like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Like, our
oh yeah,
fucking
definitely.
our platoon HQ elements can't fucking handle comms that goddamn well. And for you to come in, basically fresh to how we do things and be able to handle comms that well, like, dude, he knocked it out of the fucking park." So that first operation that we did together, we had set up basically that it was a continuation of a deployment that we had done previously with Operation Thunderstorm and so on. And we wrote up some S2 stuff about it and so on, and did our briefings and all of that. Going into that first mission, what was kind of your guys' overall mood like when you guys went to step off? You took off before everybody else and they convoyed in and so on and so forth. But what was your guys' kind of overall mood when you went to step off on this mission? Were you expecting to be kind of operating on your own since you were heading out before everybody? Were you kind of eager to work alongside some of the guys? What?
So you're talking about the second op?
No. The first one, you guys went out with the helicopter, and then the ground. Or sorry, yeah, the first one, you guys went out in the helicopter, and then the ground element convoyed in behind you guys and set up the security and
I
everything.
got you. Yeah, dude, I would say we were freaking pumped, was to say the least. So, being out there, being the tip of the spear of our first joint operation with the 506, I mean, hell yeah, we were fucking pumped. A little nervous about like, hey, like I said earlier, about how quickly can we move. We want to make sure that our pace keeps up with the task force and not holding you guys up. But having the JTAC with us was definitely, I want to say comforting, because we knew that, you know, at our fingertips, we could bring in whatever the fuck we needed as far
Right.
as, you know, firepower to go up against whatever it was. So, you know, I think, you know, hindsight 2020, we always do that. And that's why we enjoy recording our operations and then going back through it, getting different perspectives of team members. And then we armchair quarterback that shit. And we talk about, you know, not only in our debriefs at the end of each op, but then days later, after everybody's kind of reviewed the footage, like, fuck, man, did you see that part? Shit, we should have done that different. You know,
Right.
here's where we got fucked. So we definitely do a lot of analysis of our operations through our videos. And also y'all's videos too with the joint ops. So we look at y'all's perspective to see, like, man, did the 506 see that, you know, if we fuck something up, well, okay, all right, good. No, they didn't see
Good.
that.
They didn't see it. Sweet.
Yeah. Not talking about the HVT that got out of the handcuffs at the end or anything
Yeah.
like that. So,
Oh, don't worry. That was caught on my end.
Mm.
As soon as I
Yeah.
got done laughing, I yeah.
but yeah, I
Especially
mean,
when somebody threw a frag or a flash in front of everyone.
I tell you, we got a kick though, like watching some of y'all's videos. I forget whose it was, but you know, maybe y'all aren't used to seeing some of the stuff that SF uses for like demolition. So, you know, we were popping incendiaries on some of the vehicles and some of the static machine guns. And instead of using demo, I mean, it's a great way to fucking take them out without, you know, mass debt in the whole area.
Yeah.
So I think one of your guys was like, "Oh, what the fuck? Are they marking that shit with flares?" Like, no, we're burning
Yeah.
shit up, man.
Guys aren't used to seeing any type of incendiary shit for us. If we got to destroy something that's getting a fucking C4 charge on it. But that's something that is hopefully going to be changing soon. So, you know, if we got to demo something, you know, it's like legit, you know, small demo charges. Or if we got a breach, we're going to, you know, use an actual breaching charge, not a goddamn 4-pound C4 block. You know, it's going to blow up half a city block. Now the second operation, especially, you know, well, at the start, you guys were up on that ridge line. You know, we went into that town in that bowl, and you guys were up on that ridge line providing a shit ton of reconnaissance for us, which was really goddamn nice. And then eventually, you guys ended up coming down from the ridge and actually shoring up our left flank, basically. And we finished pushing through the town altogether. And there was a point before it all went to complete chaos where, you know, we were all basically working together. Guys were covering each other's angles. I wouldn't be surprised if fucking guys from our unit were fucking clearing buildings alongside guys from your unit. It was really cool to watch, and that's really what I wanted out of that mission, was to see our guys working, you know, side by side. And that was great to see there. And then especially at the end during the extract, when there was only, you know, a handful of us left on the ground, and, you know, we're side by side in skirmish lines firing our fucking rifles. Our guys are picking up your guys are picking up our guys, back and forth. Like, it was really cool for me to see everybody working like that, like I said, side by side. So what was your guys' thoughts after that second operation? Were you kind of as pumped afterwards as what most of us were, or what?
I think I had mentioned it to you guys afterwards that my favorite op before that, right now, that's still my favorite op. That second joint op we did so far. My favorite op before that was another one. We kind of had a similar extract in that we all ended up dying. And for our campaign operations, if you die, then you're basically out for the night. So, I mean, the whole ODA ended up dying. We kind of failed the mission. Well, we completed the objective. We were basically just trying to extract and end up dying. But I think for me, it's just I like being under as much stress as possible, especially as the commander of the ODA. Like, everything kind of relies on me as far as our
What are you, a
movement,
fucking
where we go and
masochist?
shit like that. I guess, man. I feel like what's his name in Full Metal Jacket? You just gotta throw hand grenades the rest of my
Okay.
life, and I'm a good
Animal
guy.
Mother.
Yeah, there you go, Animal Mother. I feel like I'm kind of like him, I guess. That's just where I operate the best, is when bullets are flying over my head and my guys are dying.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was probably my most favorite op that we have ever done. I think it took me about 12 hours to unwind after that. So, yeah, if anybody listening has never played ArmA, or if you're prior military and you want an adrenaline rush, anything that gets you close to whatever it is that you miss, fucking this is it, man.
Yeah, it's the thing for me, especially, and again, obviously, I wasn't military. I was lucky enough to spend basically 2 years of my life with some of the greatest guys the military's ever known. But the biggest thing for me, especially with our unit being the size that it is, and the amount of people and stuff, is that level of camaraderie and brotherhood that is fucking. I'm not gonna say simulated here because it is real. When guys around here fucking need help, they get the fucking help that they need. One of the best examples that I can give right now is my buddy Dunn, who worked on my PSD while I was in country. One of the greatest guys I've ever known. I legitimately owe my life to that guy. When he was down on his luck after the government shut down bullshit for a while there, he worked security for one of the government buildings in DC. And I reached out to the guys in the unit to help him out because he got a hold of me and was basically saying, hey, do you still have any contacts in the company? Can you, get me a contract going somewhere, so on and so forth. And I told him, yeah, but the only thing you're going to be able to pull is fucking security because you're former 11 Bravo. Like, that's all they're going to want you for is to pull security. And the only places that are doing security right now are the asshole of the earth. Like, you're talking about going back to Afghanistan or going to fucking South America or Africa. And all of those are places you do not want to be, especially when you got a wife and kids, man. Like, that's not the way to go. So,
go ahead.
So anyway, I reached out to the guys here and we set up a GoFundMe and, we're able to raise some money for him and keep him on his feet long enough to find a new job. And now he's working security in New York, doing all of like the outdoor security for events and shit like that, like Good Morning America and like public concerts and shit like that. Like, he does security. The company that he works for now does security for all of that shit. Has a steady ass job, great pay, nice place, got his family living there and shit. So because of that, because of the guys here, and knowing that that was someone that was important to me, and apparently at least a couple of guys here respect me enough to help out, he was able to stave off having to fucking go into a shitty part of the world that he didn't really want to go into.
And that's real right there, man. I mean,
Yeah.
I've got some similar situations like over my time playing ArmA and stuff. So I won't mention any team members' names or anything, but we've got quite a few guys that are active duty still in our unit. Me being prior service and stuff, and I got out at the halfway mark at the 10-year mark. There's a member in our unit that's right there where I was. And it's fucking stressful as shit, man, because like if you got a family with kids and you're at that halfway mark, man, and like, do you want to stay in, retire, or is it the time to bounce and take a step out and
yeah, and that's a huge decision to make.
Huge, man. So like the stress that it compounds with just your day-to-day job and stuff, man, it's I don't miss being in that time period. So anyway, I currently work for a pretty large corporation. I'm a hiring manager, so I've got quite a bit of like corporate experience on hey, how to fucking do an interview, a resume to get your foot in the door for an interview. And so the things that I enjoy about ArmA, besides just playing the game, is having that camaraderie and brotherhood to be able to help a fellow veteran and be able to kind of coach him through life and say, hey man, send me your resume, let me take a look at it,
right.
Take out this jargon that doesn't mean shit to an HR manager in the corporate world, and here's how you reword it so it sounds like
yeah, don't say Tangle Mike at the end of your message because he doesn't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Right.
And no must know, to answer your question, I'm not talking about that company. I'm talking the company that I worked for at KBR, not the company as in the CIA. But yeah, and then like another example was our buddy Soto, who was the CO of our fixed wing section when Puerto Rico was hit by the big ass hurricane. His family is originally from Puerto Rico, and we did this huge fundraising thing. He had streamed in his dad's flight suit, wearing a full-on flight helmet and everything. It was funny as fuck to watch. But between our community, friends that we reached out to, guys in other ArmA communities that I knew that we reached out to, so on and so forth, total, they raised a little over 12 grand and were able to buy a van for the local church and get it shipped down there to Puerto Rico, get them the van so that they could transport food and supplies and people and so on and so forth. And they did it in a week. And like, that was absolutely insane to me when he, you know, he got a hold of me and was like, bro, we raised like 12 grand. It's been 6 days. Like, I don't know how the fuck this is even possible. And it was cool as shit to see that, you know, just people that play a fucking video game together were like, yeah, I'm going to give you $1,700 just because. Like,
Crazy.
that's absolutely insane. And that's because of a goddamn gaming community, you know?
I'm actually kind of angry now. I didn't know that was happening because I'm actually Puerto Rican too. I have a lot of family up there, and my grandmother actually passed away in a hospital around that time.
Yeah, it was, you know, it was one of those things where obviously nowhere near enough attention was being paid to it. And we reached out to every fucking contact. We called in every ticket that anybody had and was like, look, I'm collecting, you know? So it was one of those, like, buddies hooked him up in terms of transporting the van, getting the van for cheaper. Fucking people were like, here's, you know, money, go buy every single goddamn generator that Home Depot has. Like I said, every fucking favor that anybody had got called in for that. And it was cool, like I said, just to see everything come together around that. And it was all because some dude fucking sits at his computer a couple hours every week and plays ArmA. You know, it was weird. So I guess that brings me into another thing that I wanted to talk to you guys about, especially considering you're both prior military. And this is something that obviously comes up all the time, especially when with realism units and stuff like that. Where do you guys sit in terms of the, you know, the rank structure, calling people by rank, and, you know, the overall discipline and stuff like that that's generally enforced in a realism unit? You know, being, like I said, prior military yourselves, obviously I don't know if you're, you know, combat vets or anything like that, it doesn't fucking matter. But where do you guys sit on that? What's kind of your feelings on it?
I would say a part of the reason that we decided to go SF was because in SF they're not really expected to perform as much DNC as, you know, big army and everything. And that's how we kind of ran too when we were still the Ranger unit. So we don't really require anybody to like call me captain or sir or anything like that, or any of the other ranks. But a lot of guys too, they'll even tell the new guys like, yeah, don't call me that, because we'll get a lot of new guys that are like, yeah, Roger Sergeant, Roger Sir, and then our senior members, you know, even if we're veterans and stuff. Like I was never a fucking captain, so I prefer people not, you know, refer to me as one. So like out of game, I would say in our Discord, that's like our main social area.
Right.
We're very laxed. We're just more friendly, social atmosphere. But in game, you know, we're a lot more strict.
Yeah, exactly.
With the professionalism and everything.
Yeah, and that's how it works for us. You know, if it's an official setting, basically, you know, if you're sitting down having a meeting or you're in game, then, you know, all the normal fucking shit applies. But if we're just hanging out bullshitting, you know, guys still call me top just because it's quicker to say than brewer. But it's, guys don't fucking apply rank when it's like, hey, we're playing fucking CS:GO or whatever the fuck the kids play.
You play CS:GO?
Yeah. I've
Yeah,
never
at the end of the
seen
day,
it.
in ArmA, the way I see it, it's still a fucking video game, right? So, I mean, as like Rivera kind of said, like, we're not hung up on the rank thing. But I mean, you know, we don't just assign rank to anybody in the unit, right? So rank kind of distinguishes, hey, what have you contributed to the team, really? So, you know, if somebody is stepping up in S1 or S4, you know, hey, that's going to get noticed. And it's not that we fast track anybody, we have a promotion point system. But, you know, if somebody's doing a heck of a lot, we're going to recognize that, you know, and that's where the respect comes from the rank within ArmA for us.
Yeah, kind of the same. You know, obviously, someone gets fucking E5 because they're a team leader. You know, they're recognized as an E5. But especially with the higher ranks, it's more respect for their role rather than just, oh, they have a rank. It's like, no, that dude's a fucking platoon leader and runs 40 of you fucking idiots around and, you know, herds cats every goddamn week. And they put in a lot of work to do that job. But that's obviously, you know, a point that is a point of contention all the time for realism units and shit like that. And I personally, I've never, you know, met myself a vet that is like, no, that's fucking wrong, or, you know, anything like that. Like, I've never met a guy that has a personal issue with it, you know, by addressing someone by ranking game or anything like that. You know, obviously we've got plenty of vets here and combat vets and so on and so forth, but more so I'm talking like guys that have never been in this unit or anything like that. So I guess to kind of peel away from that to get into the deployment that we're currently doing, the Operation Black Spear, you know, we're fighting basically on an island off the Horn of Africa, which is always a hotbed of fucking activity. As I mentioned earlier, you know, we are going to be bringing guys from the 5th in for joint ops that actually, you know, take part in our deployment, basically. As I said, a couple of their guys were part of our S-Shop meeting this week to discuss future joint operations and shit in relation to the actual deployment itself and so on. So I know what your guys' thoughts are, but I guess so the viewers can find out, what are your guys' thoughts on that in terms of like actually joining us for a legit deployment operation, considering that's something that we've never done before.
I would say I'm a lot more comfortable than I was before we had done the first two.
Right, we've done a
joint
couple now,
ops,
so it's
just-
like, yeah, I'm in the groove now.
Yeah, one of the biggest learning experiences for us was the settings that you guys use, especially your AI, because we use like modded AI. I don't think you guys do. You just use like the vanilla ones.
No, we can't.
So yeah, that's definitely the biggest difference between ours and y'all's operations. And then another thing too, the first join up that we did, the stamina system, I guess to call it, is a little different as well. I think ours lasts longer than yours, but it refreshes much slower. That's basically the difference. So that was another learning experience for me, because like the pace of our guys and everything kind of relies on me.
What? And I remember the first join up when everybody was gearing up. What's like your guys' general like walk around weight? Because I remember somebody being surprised that I was at like fucking 38 kilos or something like that, like 85 pounds.
75
Right, yeah.
and under. 75
Yeah, we
pounds.
usually max it at
Right.
70, depending on, you know, the needs of the mission. If we're going to be
Right.
like one team's mostly going to be an Overwatch role, they're not going to be doing a lot of fire and movement, then they could be heavier.
Right. And for those of you guys listening, you know, if that sounds weird to you, like, wait a minute, they're special forces, aren't they supposed to be the badasses? That's why they're the badasses, because they're light. They've got, you know, lighter armor. They've, you know, they're not carrying a bunch of extra shit, basically. Obviously, we carry more stuff in game than what you would in reality in terms of like smoke grenades and bandages and shit like that. But, you know, light infantry, like the joke is real, light infantry is anything but light. You know, normal weight for most light infantry guys is going to be anywhere from 80 to 100 pounds worth of gear that they're carrying on them pretty much at all times. Now, when you get in a gunfight, that's different. You know, your fucking ruck gets thrown on the ground, whatever, somebody, you know, keeps track of it, and, you know, you do what you need to do. But that's normal walk around weight for a light infantry guy is going to be, you know, anywhere from like 250 to 300 pounds, depending upon obviously his size. So for you guys to be carrying, you know, 75 pounds or less worth of gear, that's completely normal.
Yeah, that's something we have to keep in mind in our operations as well. Actually, last night when we did an operation, we had a new guy that just joined. He ended up basically hitting a unmanned troop transport. All the guys had already, you know, came out. We already engaged them and killed all of them. He ended up engaging it with AT4. So we had to mention that in the debrief, that, you know, that was kind of a waste, because we're limited definitely on the amount of equipment that we can hold with us. Yes. How many we have yesterday, Scott? Was it 8 guys?
Yeah, it was 8 guys.
Yeah, so you know, after that, thank God we didn't get engaged by another techie or, you know, a piece of armor or something, and we ended up not having that AT4. So
Yeah, we've
that's
got to
always
be
something we have to bring up.
really mindful on like what we use. So we're also say like on the second op that we did with you guys, the joint operation on when we were on the hillside in that bowl.
Hmm.
We knew that we wanted to implement our mortar system, and it's probably a little bit different than what you guys use. Um, but we wanted to kind of implement that and kind of showcase it in that joint op because it was a perfect opportunity. But there's no way that we could have done reconnaissance and then knowing that you guys might have called us down into the town to pull security or help out uh, down in the town itself. So that's why we had to take the VIX with us. So our VIX are really our immediate resupply points.
Hmm.
So we use the M razors quite a bit. We kind of had to protect those as we push down into the town. So
Right, and we do the same thing with our gun trucks. You know, we always have a shit ton of gear and ammunition and stuff stuffed in the backs of those things.
yeah, so the VIX are really important just for both units, obviously. So
Yeah, the in terms of like you guys, you know, being able to carry the mortar system and stuff like that, like you said, you know, there just wasn't room to have everything. You know, like they say, ounces equal pounds, and they absolutely do, especially for you guys, where you know, if you get engaged, there isn't a whole, you know, platoon there to fucking back you up. You know, you ain't got 30 other guys to count on to be able to maneuver on that enemy. Like you've got, you know, 6 dudes maybe. You don't have air to call in. Like you guys got to be able to fucking move when it comes time to move. For us, we can always be like, yeah, we're gonna hunker down and call in the fucking A10 on it. You guys don't have that luxury, you know. So I definitely understand that. Like you guys gotta be able to be quick when it's necessary. And like I said, ounces equal pounds. Now I guess kind of the next thing I would want to get into here is doing joint operations together in terms of the deployment. You know, SF elements and line infantry do work together. It's not an uncommon thing or anything like that. But is kind of the role of what we would be doing in the deployment is a little bit more heavy-handed than what normally the infantry element would be doing, because again, the action is always going to be pumped up, you know, in our missions, because you got 60 fucking dudes in there. You don't want guys getting bored. But how do you guys feel in terms of that increased action level? Like I know you guys obviously just said a little bit ago that that second joint op is the, you know, one of your guys' favorite missions now. But is that something that you can see yourself doing regularly? Obviously, we're not going to be doing joint ops every weekend, but is that something you could see yourself doing regularly, or it's like, dude, I need a fucking break because goddamn, that shit's stressful.
I'll speak and say that shit. I like the stress level. I like that level of ArmA play. Maybe not on the routine, but
Yeah, I was gonna say you're older than me, dude. Your beard's gonna be quick, or gonna be gray quick as fuck, because mine's already there.
well, yeah. But I also work for that large corporation that puts it on my head too. So, but yeah, I wouldn't say like every weekend, and that's great that we don't do it every weekend. I like to have, you know, a little bit of, you know, some showbiz pizzazz where it's like it's a special thing for us to be able to do joint operations with you guys. And if we did it every freaking weekend, then
Yeah, there
you know,
wouldn't be anything special about it.
exactly. So then it becomes routine. So you know, I like kind of how we have this set up where every now and then we're going to do it and not every weekend. And then we can focus on, you know, training and things like that that we want to do on weekends. But you know, once a month or something, hey, that's outstanding.
Yeah, and that actually reminds me that somebody had asked me about it. I think in Discord or maybe in a stream chat. I can't. No, I think it was Discord. Somebody had asked me if I had recorded the training that I did with you guys the other night, which I did not. As I told you guys when we started that training, I don't ever record or stream when I do training with other units, just out of respect for them. But a couple of your guys got to basically go through the urban combat school that I teach here at the 506, and definitely seemed like everybody enjoyed it, had a, you know, decent time. Maybe not super exciting time, but appreciated the information that was given. What what do you guys think about having like that detail oriented of a training in a setting like this?
Well,
Go ahead.
yeah, well, I'd say as far as our training, it's pretty similar. When we do like CQC or mount training for us, I've taught it a few times. I'm definitely not as smooth as you were when you did it. Mostly because I just don't have documents that I can just kind of stare at and read through and make sure I cover everything.
Oh shit, that makes me feel good.
Well, and he's also gave him the same spiel like a million
Yeah,
times.
that's what I'm saying. The fact that I've said
Yeah.
it so many times that you think it's off of documentation makes it nice because I don't have any documentation.
Yeah, I feel like that's how I am with our OSUT right now.
Yeah,
I just kind of
same way.
flow straight through it. But I mean, no, we didn't find it boring at all. We all kind of loved that shit. As far as I know, that everybody was there. And again, we had another new guy with us for that training, and he's currently an 11 bang bang in the Army, and he loved it too. He said a lot of the information you gave was definitely relevant to what he's been learning nowadays too. So
Right.
I think we're all really pretty much sponges. So I mean, like, it doesn't matter, if we disagree with the training, we're gonna listen to it and we're gonna take something from it anytime. So,
Motherfucker, you better not disagree with my training. I worked hard on that shit.
hell no,
I'm
we
just
didn't
fucking with
disagree with it.
you.
But what I'm saying is, like, we're gonna sit in and we're gonna take something from it. And there was a lot of information, which is why I recorded it and also reposted it in y'all's Discord when that.
Oh
one
yeah, it
individual
was.
asked for
Yeah.
it. So yeah, we were definitely excited to get that from you.
Yeah, and that's one of those. And to tell you the truth, I guess kind of the reason it would sound like anything that I teach is from documentation is because of the repetition. I've just done it so many times, especially with OSUT. Like OSUT, we do have documentation for I forget how many pages it is. It's like 50 or 80 or some fucking pages that I did for OSUT. But I don't work off the document anymore because I've been doing it for fucking 3.5 years. And you say the same speech hundreds of times over 3.5 years, you kind of commit it to memory. But that was one of the things that I always kind of relate to guys when they're talking about wanting to get into the role of being an instructor, whether it's, rolling with me in OSUT or being a recruit instructor or whatever, or even just doing squad trainings and just training guys, is being an instructor technically is easy. It's easy to read something off of a page to a fucking screen. Being a good instructor is incredibly difficult, and they're rare as fuck because it's hard to find someone that can take what is on that document, relate it to you in such a way that it keeps you engaged and it informs you and teaches you the actual material. And to be able to do that for 2 to 3 hours plus and not have people tune out and fucking fall asleep, that's a difficult thing to do. That's why a lot of the times, like if you guys are watching trainings that I'm running or, classes that I'm running or whatever, that's why you hear me crack jokes and shit like that. Because when guys laugh, I know they're fucking paying attention. And it's not purely to be like, hey, I'm the lighthearted guy, I'm here to have fun and so on and so forth. It's more of like, did he chuckle? All right, then he's actually paying attention to what the fuck I'm saying. Is he still staring off in the sky? He's probably dead. It's little shit like that you kind of learn after a long time doing it, whether somebody teaches it to you or you do like I did and just kind of pick it up over time. That's what can make an instructor really good, is when they can keep you not necessarily captivated, but keep you interested in what the fuck they're saying. And it's difficult to find people that are capable of doing that, especially right off the bat. It's pretty much fucking non-existent to get somebody that can do it right off the bat. What I would like is to one of these days go to somebody else's fucking training, like go to somebody else's classes. Obviously I can't join another unit, but to go to another training scenario like an OSUT or like a UCS and go see how other guys do it and see if there's anything I can pick up from that instructor, or see if they're like fucking Weewoo, who I got to tell them it's not cadres, it's a cadre. There's only one cadre. It's the entirety of your instructors. It's not multiple because there's more than one instructor. I swear he's the retarded little brother I never wanted. But still,
So let me ask you this: like, do
Mhm.
you ever come across in your training where you've got a candidate that you're trying to teach, like how to read a map or something, and they just don't get it? Do you invest the time into that individual,
yes.
or are you going to quickly move on because you are a large unit? You have the pool of candidates that you can just quickly replace.
Simple answer is yes.
I don't think anybody's ever, aside from being a fucktard, I don't think anybody's ever like failed OSUT, right?
No,
Right.
it's one of those things. OSUT's pretty goddamn impossible to fail. About the only way you're going to fail OSUT is not necessarily being ignorant to the content. That can be taught. Some people it takes longer than others.
Right.
What is more so going to be a problem is if you got an attitude and you want to try and fucking big chest with me, it's not going to work out for you. So I've had, a couple of situations of that happening where I fucking bounced somebody out of the unit because they wanted to get a fucking attitude with me. But if somebody's slower on something, depending upon the situation, sometimes I just have to move on and I have to take that person aside, one-on-one and make sure they're really grasping it. Most of the time, that's not the case. Most of the time, guys are able to pick stuff up where I don't have to take them on one-on-one, or they're not so far behind everyone else that it can't be made up for in squad trainings and one-on-ones with their team leaders and squad leaders and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, yeah, if there's someone that's really struggling and they need extra time on something, then it's my job to make sure that they get that extra time and get up to speed, or at least close enough to my standards that, someone else can do the follow-on training and get them where they need to be. Because at the end of the day, if you don't know this stuff, you're not going to have as much fun because you don't know the stuff, and you're not going to be able to do what everybody else is doing, and everybody's going to be pissed off because you can't do what they're doing. And if our ultimate goal is to have fun, then it's my responsibility to put them in the best position they can be in to have fun.
How do you? Here I am. I'm turning into the interviewer here. So,
Yeah.
how do you?
Believe me, it's fine.
How do you stay motivated? I'll tell you, our attrition rate. The likelihood of a candidate going through the 25 days SFAS, being trained on MOS, getting through it, getting their green beret. We have a 10% retainability rate, basically, of anybody that applies to our unit and actually makes it that far. How do you stay motivated to continue to provide that level of training day in and day out? If your attrition rate is anything close to ours, how do you do that?
Well, our washout rate isn't as high. Our washout rate's roughly 50%. The majority of that is between recruit training and OSUT.
Yeah.
And then we'll get another basically 50% from that from day 1 of OSUT to day 4 of OSUT. Usually they'll do like the first 2 days and then never show up again. So it's roughly 25 and 25 between recruit training and then day 2 and day 3 of OSUT. In terms of staying motivated to do it, honestly, one is I'm a control freak and I don't trust to go completely hands off and have other people run all of the classes. And two, it's more so about the rest of the guys, which probably sounds silly to some because guys see me as, the asshole first sergeant that yells at everybody. But the training of the guys and running the classes week after week after week, and does it get monotonous and boring? Yes, absolutely it does. But if I'm not training them, who's going to do it? Are they going to do it to my standards? So on and so forth. Like I said, a big part of it is that I'm just a fucking control freak. But getting them trained up to a level that I'm comfortable with only increases their capability, which increases their elements capability, which means, their fire team is having more fun because they can do the job competently. And that's really what I'm in it for, is so that the guys at the fire team level and at the squad level have someone that's not a complete fucking idiot just hopping in there and doing it. The washout rate, obviously, it always sucks, but the quality is higher than what it's ever been.
If I could, like, the quality. If I could speak to the quality, when you're in OSUT, you become a PV1 and you are permitted to fill in for squad trainings, for platoon trainings, stuff like that. And we had a platoon training today for Havoc 3, and I had 3 PV1s in my squad that.
Yeah, and they're actually all pretty good.
Yeah, and they're all on their day 3 of OSUT. They just completed day 3 like 2 hours prior to this platoon training. And I'm looking at these guys, and some of the things that we were doing were things that literally just got covered in OSUT. And I'm watching them, and they didn't, and it was, they didn't struggle, they didn't have questions, they didn't have to fuck around. They were loaded up faster than some of our veterans, and they were ready to go, and their loadouts were correct, and they did their radio checks, and they did them correctly. So it's like it's almost, if you're willing to like pay attention, and like I know that it's like 2 hours a day for 4 days, you're giving up 8 hours of your life in fucking lectures basically. But if you're willing to just sit through it and take the information in, once you apply it, it's beautiful because you just fit right in.
Yeah, it's always nice when we get guys that are like that have the right mentality, that, you know, take it upon themselves to better themselves. You know, I know Murph is hanging out here in chat, who, you know, Murph's been a member of my community in terms of my channel for a long time now, and he finally joined the unit after I twisted his arm 5 ways from fucking Sunday. But what I'm getting at though is, I've seen, you know, him and Sarah and guys like that, PV1s, practicing in the training servers. You know, I get a fucking message from Murph in the morning like, hey, the fucking training server is not up. Could you, you know, see what's going on? Yeah, absolutely. I'll fucking log on to the box and put it up for you guys. They're taking the time themselves to not only, you know, get familiar with the game, but practice the stuff that I've been teaching them. And that's always really nice to see.
I think every now and then you get those golden classes in OSUT, you know, where it's like, man, these guys are like clicking together. It's a good group of guys. And I mean, those are the ones that you really have a whole lot of hope in, that, you know, they're going to continue with it and stuff. So, yeah,
I think we have a good group like that right now. This week we got a good amount of guys, and they've been doing really well from what I've seen. I probably shouldn't say that just because I don't want them to see this. And
yeah,
start
right.
taking place
I know,
and
right? I
shit.
just gave Murph a gigantic fucking head. Now he's gonna shit the bed tomorrow for day 4.
Yeah, he is. He's gonna fail the test.
Yeah, he's gonna fail the fucking oral quiz like a motherfucker.
There is a
But
flip
yeah.
side. There is a flip side to that coin. Like basically, you get people from the 506 is pretty inclusive in the sense that like Brewer said, it doesn't matter. There's people that have joined the unit that like they watched our videos on YouTube or Twitch or whatever, and they've never fucking played a game like a PC game before. And
Yeah, they go
bought
out and buy a PC to play with us.
just to play ArmA, and they have no clue what they're doing. On the other side of the coin, you get people like Liru, who are like tier 3 veterans and on the intricacies and the ins and outs of everything ArmA, and he had to go through the same training that a day 1 person had to go through. And what's cool about it is that it doesn't really matter where you're coming from. You're all being trained the same way for the same purpose. So no matter where you end up in this unit, except for like obviously like rotary, you're gonna do just fine. As long as all the basics are covered, you can keep yourself alive, you can keep your teammates alive. The rest will just fall into place on its own.
Yeah, and even rotary still has to go through OSUT. Ha, fuckers.
Yeah.
And the, like, in terms of guys like never playing before and stuff like that, honestly, those are the guys I not necessarily prefer, but I would take that over the guy that's been playing ArmA for 5 years and thinks that he already knows how to do everything perfectly. And honestly, that's where, you know, Weewoo is good in the sense that, one, he knows me and Drum personally and shit like that, so he knows how everything here works, even though he wasn't in the unit. But he didn't come into it with a chip on his shoulder like, oh yeah, I already know how to do all this. No, he went through the same classes. He sat through everything. He listened. He did all the maneuvers and all the drills and so on and so forth. But when you have that guy that comes in with, you know, 3, 4, 5 years of ArmA experience and is like, oh, well, my unit did it this way. That's great. Go back to your fucking unit. Oh, it doesn't exist anymore? That's probably why, because you got a shit attitude. Get the fuck out of my unit. I ain't got time for people like that, you know?
I'd say we're the same way. Like we prefer those those brand new guys that you can just freaking mold that are going to be sponges to soak up training and want to get good at ArmA and will listen. Whereas those guys that have been the veteran players, sometimes, to your point, they're a little bit more resistant to change. And we've gone through our ebbs and flows, like having another unit try to merge into ours, a couple years ago, and it just didn't work out because it's our unit, it's our tactics,
Mm-hmm.
and we're not going to bend those because that's the way it worked in your previous unit. Because if you were still in your previous unit, then it'd still be around, to your point.
Right.
So
yeah, and that's we kind of talked about that before the other night, and we didn't necessarily have that happen where somebody joined and was a bunch of guys. More so, we had kind of the opposite, where we had 280 fucking people leave basically overnight, and then rebuilt the unit from there. But they broke off and started another unit, and so on and so forth. What happened with that happened with that. Most of you guys are well aware of it. But the thing that is always kind of funny to me is, especially with a unit our size, it happens every so often. 10, 12 guys will fucking leave to go start their own unit. And that's where generally the jokes come in terms of, oh, you're going to be another secret squirrel unit. There's 500 of those. And that's not so much a slight, obviously, against like what you guys do. It's more so that everybody that leaves us wants to start a fucking soft unit. And then 6 months later, 3/4 of them are reapplying to the unit because they realize how hard it is to run a fucking ArmA unit. And they don't realize how much work goes into it in the back room. Even stuff as simple as, keeping track of personnel, or like the meeting that, we had the other night with all the S shop guys for the deployment. And we were in there for like 2.5 hours, maybe pushing fucking 3 hours, just talking about what we're going to do for the next 2 weeks of the fucking deployment. And we have an extra week off. So we had even more time to get stuff ready and so on. But we still spent, there was like 10 of us in there, spent like 2 to 3 hours talking about what the fuck we were going to do over the next 2 weeks. Like, guys don't take that kind of shit into account the vast majority of the time when they're like, yeah, let's just start our own unit to do our own thing. Good luck. You guys, obviously the two of you, realize how much work goes into making a unit run. And it's not just, oh, we're going to show up, for 2 hours every weekend and play a game for a couple hours. Like, it's not that simple. We have obviously a lot of overhead with the amount of people we have, but I know goddamn well the two of you dedicate more than 2 hours a week to your unit. Tell me I'm lying.
No, definitely. Geez, this is like my second job, it seems. So, I think I get home from work and I'm logging in, and I'm, I just recently got into S1, so now I'm doing the interviews, a lot of the records keeping and stuff. So looking at spreadsheets all freaking day at work, I get to go home and then really start punching the clock on ArmA. So yeah, we definitely put in quite a bit of hours during the week with our unit.
Yeah, that's the kind of S shop shit I won't get into, is all the personnel stuff and spreadsheets, and oh, fuck off. I ain't doing all that shit. I will I'll sit down and teach guys all goddamn day, and that's fine with me, but I ain't working a fucking spreadsheet and having to type a bunch of stuff. I hate fucking typing anything.
It's a Hardman job.
Yeah,
or a hammer job.
Yeah, exactly. In terms of I don't necessarily want to say like hard cases or anything like that. But you had mentioned that you guys have kind of the same stance in terms of, like when I said I ain't got time for those kind of people in the unit here. And again, this is why our units kind of work so well together, is because of, we have the same mindset on a lot of stuff. But would you say it's, common for you guys to have that happen, to have kind of a hard case come in that, gives you some issues in training, or is it fairly uncommon for you guys?
I'd say it's fairly common, honestly, unfortunately.
Really?
Yeah. So it's pretty quick to identify them.
Yeah.
So, after you've been doing this for a number of years, you know the personality types right off the bat. So it's pretty quick to weed those guys out. There was one guy, man, it was probably a year ago, and it took us a little bit to narrow it down, but I don't know if y'all have ever had issues with like people running scripts, additional scripts, not mods, but scripts in the background, and our server kept crashing, and it was happening week after week, and we spent hours upon hours, sifting through our mods, see what the hell was causing the issue. If there was an update to something, we couldn't find anything. And then it dawned on me. I said, look, we didn't start getting this issue until this one member joined. So then what I did was I would have an individual member. I went through the roster and had them join the server. And it was at a point that we pop smoke every time that it would crash the server. So I'd have them pop smoke. Nothing. Bringing the next guy in and just troubleshooting it that way. And then the guy that I suspected, brought him in. I said, pop smoke, crash the server, pulled him into TeamSpeak channel. I said, dude, you're running a script. I know that you are. You're crashing our servers, because something that eluded it earlier was that he was calling out contacts that nobody else was fucking seeing.
Right, he shouldn't be able to see.
Right. So it was like, hey, that's an indicator right there. So sure as shit, he was like, oh man, jump in TeamViewer, come check my files out. I was like, dude, I'm not even going to waste my time. You got that shit hidden somewhere on your hard drive. I said, let's just call it parts right now. This isn't going to work out. So, here's the door, man.
Right.
Yeah, unfortunately, he ended up ruining a couple of our campaign ops as well, because like Scott said, people were even either dropping off the server, or the server just crashed completely at one of the ops. And one of the ops that we ran with him, I mean, we saw some fishy stuff happening, but we just, chalked it up to ArmA being funny, like it always does.
Right.
And yeah, after we found out that he was running the scripts and everything, it was clear to us. I have recordings of him too, of pretty good proof that I don't know, somehow he made himself invincible. I watched him basically take a full cannon from a T-72 straight to his face, and
Jesus.
he was still alive. Like Scott had said, he was also running wall hacks. We don't know what else he was doing, but yeah, I don't understand like why there's people that will join milsims just to do that, because you're
Yeah.
losing pretty much
The whole
everything
point.
that milsimming is about. Yeah.
Yeah,
And,
we haven't had that issue arise. I'm pretty sure if we would, there would be a Hardman hunting somebody down like a wild fucking dingo.
Yeah, he'd be on it.
And that's actually in part of our indoctrination in terms of the recruit training, that it talks about, that we don't allow anybody to run any type of scripts or cheats or anything like that. And it flat out states, if you're doing that, you're missing the point of joining a realism unit. So yeah, we haven't had that. We've had, a couple trolls and stuff like that, obviously. The ones that have surprised me, honestly, are the guys that actually get through OSUT and then start pulling stupid shit and stuff like that, because it's like, dude, if you've got that much time to dedicate, 8 hours roughly, well, really 9 to 10 hours counting recruit training, just to get into a unit to try and pull some silly shit and then immediately get banned, like, homie, you don't need like a hobby. Like, you need Jesus, because you got some serious shit fucked up with you if you got that much time. Like, find a woman or something, all right? Because this ain't the way to do it. But like you were saying, in terms of the guys that will have like an attitude, yeah, they are pretty quick to spot. We don't have too much of a problem with it. I usually give the guys a pretty good speech on day one, and I guess they kind of get a feel for me fairly quickly, and I do that on purpose. I actually, I had a friend of mine in the unit ask me fairly recently why on day one, like first time I'm talking to the guys, that I'm not necessarily hard on them or anything like that, but I tell them I don't sugarcoat shit. I'm not gonna coddle fuck you, so on and so forth. Like, I give them a pretty stern speech, and I told them because I don't want to waste anybody's time. That's that's like the cardinal sin for me in this situation, is to waste somebody's time, and not necessarily the guys that are already in the unit. I'm not so much worried about wasting their time, because if they get past me in training, the guys in the unit, their time isn't going to be wasted. It's more so the guy that's coming into the training. I don't want to waste his time. And if he can deal with the way I speak to him, the way I make critiques, and so on, and how, you know, kind of rash I can be, then they're going to be fine in the unit. If they can deal with me, they can deal with anybody in the fucking unit. If they don't like that, if they don't like the way I talk and so on, then they can just quit, you know, and not show up. And that's fine. That's perfectly fine. I have no problem with that. But I don't want them, I'm not going to sugarcoat everything and be super nice to them and so on and so forth in training. And then they get into a fucking task force debrief and the CO fucking rips everybody apart. And he's already 2 months into the unit and is like, well, fuck, man, this isn't what I want. I'm not doing this shit anymore. And now he's wasted 2 months of his fucking life being in the unit. And it's all down the drain.
A big reason we came up in our training pipeline, that 25-day S-Fest period when they first joined, is a lot of that as well, because we were honestly getting pretty tired, spending a lot of our time training new guys that join. We ended up having, I think before it was maybe 5 or 6 hours of training before they were even authorized to join an op with us. And you know, then you get those guys that do the training and they're like, well, fuck this unit, like I don't really like how they do things here, and then they just never show up again or leave or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And we were just getting really tired of that. And also with the attitude thing, you know, that's the main thing we kind of assess them in that period, is basically their attitude.
Right.
Because we don't like wasting our time with guys that we know are just gonna be assholes to us or other members, or if they're gonna make us look bad to new members or even join ops that we do.
I do like the entertaining assholes though. So
Yeah.
you know, the guys that are just like really angry, I like those guys. We had a guy before he went off to,
Is that why you like me so much?
pretty much, man.
All right.
Yeah.
That explains it.
I particularly like when drum goes off the handle. So, but anyway, no, we had a guy that actually went off to Special Forces SFAS selection, and in real life called him Angry Dick, and I miss that guy so much. Miss him.
He owned that name too.
Fuck yeah.
He wanted everybody to call him that.
That's the thing that's kind of funny is, you know, guys that know me personally, and obviously, you know, we've hung out and bullshit quite a bit, and you know, I'm not always that fucking angry, pissed off first sergeant that's yelling at everybody. That's kind of the, you know, the role that I embody. Don't get me wrong, I'm much like that in reality. A lot of people say I have an anger problem, but it's not a problem. I know how to handle it just fine. I release it. But anyways, the you know, getting pissed off and yelling and screaming and stuff like that, whatever that is, what it is, it annoys the shit out of me that oftentimes the chat is like, ooh, I can't wait for this debrief. Like, fuck off. It's not you that I'm yelling at. If it was you that I'm yelling at, it'd be a different situation. You wouldn't be all excited for it, which is why vast majority of the time I don't, you know, stream the, you know, me yelling at people for debriefs and shit, because I'm not going to give all you bastards the satisfaction of hearing somebody else get yelled at. Anyways, what I'm getting at here, long short, is it's always surprising to me when someone says, oh, well, they're scared of you, or I'm scared of you. And I personally have never understood that. Maybe that's kind of just my not give a fuck attitude. There's a difference between fear and respect. I've always had respect for guys senior to me in the unit, even back, you know, when the unit was big. Sergeant Major DeLeo, I had huge respect for that guy. I didn't really know him. I just had huge respect for him because of his position in the unit. I didn't fear him. I didn't give a fuck, you know, who he was personally. I definitely, like I said, didn't fear the guy. Same thing with drum. I was never scared of drum. You know, I was a PV2 as a fill-in team leader, and he was in my team. I wasn't fucking nervous that the guy was in my team. I didn't give a shit. But I had respect for who he was and what he did. I've never understood the whole they're scared of you or I'm scared of you. Like, I'm a voice on the other end of your fucking computer. Until the day arises that the technology is actually here for me to physically reach through this computer and choke the ever-living fuck out of you, you have nothing to fear. Unless you're dumb enough to give me your fucking address and you're within a 4-hour drive of fucking Michigan, you're fine. Okay? You got nothing to worry about. But maybe it's just people don't like confrontation or whatever. Like, I got no problem fucking yelling back and forth with somebody, because again, at the end of the day, it's a voice on the other end of the fucking screen. And, you know, We want to get in a yellow match, fine, we can get in a yellow match. If you want to roll your happy ass to Michigan, we can fucking go beyond that. But I don't get the, oh, I'm scared of you. Fucking why?
That's Hop, you got the dad voice. That's why.
Yeah. Oh,
That's
maybe.
all it is.
It actually is funny. We were, most of you guys in chat know that I have a huge family, and a lot of my family, we all live together in this big ass house. But a bunch of us were upstairs in the kitchen, and a bunch of people are talking. You know, there's like fucking 8-9 people in the kitchen all at once, and a bunch of people are talking. And I think my nephew was asking the difference between a lichen and a werewolf or some shit like that, and everybody started like answering at once. And I just kind of went over top of everybody and gave them the explanation as the difference between a lichen and a werewolf. And when I started talking, everybody shut up and he just listened to what I said. And then he had asked, he's like, why is it when he started talking, everybody just shut up and started listening to what he said? And I was like, that's dad voice. And he just looked at me like, what? I was like, every time your dad gets pissed off at you and yells your name across the house and the hair on the back of your neck stands up, that's dad voice. Every time you hear it, you're going to pay the fuck attention. And I told him, I said, I use the same fucking voice. When you hear me down in the office yelling at people, you hear me, you get a little nervous every time you hear me raise my voice. Yeah, that's dad voice.
And that's where the fear comes from in ArmA.
Yeah. I don't know. I still don't get it. Like,
I'm afraid of you, bro.
Yeah, but you're an idiot.
Okay.
I would say, you know, it's not fear. Like, I don't know. It's more of
Maybe just intimidation, or
no, I wouldn't even call it intimidation. Let's call it, hey, I think I've seen enough videos of the 506 to know, hey, this guy knows his shit. It's more of a respect thing. So I don't want to fuck up in front of this guy. You know. I think it's
Yeah,
more of that.
like I can understand that, and like you said, it's more of a respect thing than it is fear. I think some guys do have fear of like, oh crap, I'm gonna get in trouble and get kicked out of the unit or something like that. But even then, at the end of the day, and obviously I'm not telling, you know, any guys that are watching that are in the unit or anything like that to be fucking disrespectful or anything like that, but there's no reason to be fucking fearful. Like, at the end of the day, if you fuck up bad enough for me to, you know, want to remove you from the unit, one, if you're a legitimate member of the fucking unit that actually cares and so on, you're going to be more pissed off at yourself than I'm ever going to be pissed off at you, because you're going to be upset that not only did you let yourself down, but you let your buddies down by fucking up that bad to get kicked out of the unit. But even then, you get kicked out of the unit, so the fuck what? It's, don't get me wrong, this community is amazing and it's special, but it's not like you're getting fucking locked up in, you know, in prison or something because you screwed up. Like, it's not that big of a deal at the end of the day. I know, again, that sounds kind of silly coming from someone like me who puts as much time and so on and so forth in this unit as I do. And believe me, if fucking tomorrow I got removed from the unit, it would hurt, but at the end of the day, it's not going to be life-changing per se. I'm still going to have friends from this unit that I'll always have, but I don't understand the fear aspect. Like, it always sounds weird to me when someone's like, oh yeah, they're scared of you. Fucking why? It doesn't make any sense. But yeah, I think it is more of a respect thing.
I would ask the question, like, are the people that are saying like, hey, I fear, you know, Brewer or Drum or whoever the fuck, man, is it, you know, I would wonder, hey, are you prior military or not? Like, I don't know. I guess 10 years in the military, I'm used to a lot of very strong type A.
Yeah, strong personalities. Yeah.
So nothing that you would say would ever be like, oh fuck, I fear that guy. You know, woo.
Yeah.
No. It'd be, all right, this motherfucker knows his shit, so let me get my shit squared away, and then when I go to speak or something, I'm going to sound fucking halfway intelligent. So
yeah. And yeah, as Ty points out in chat there, I am hard-headed. I did technically go up against a dump truck and win. But the funny one was my buddy Shannon, who's not active with the unit anymore, but he was prior military, did combat rotations and shit. Actually, he worked fucking route clearance, which anybody that's ever been in the military or involved in the military, especially in country, route clearance, that's a fuck off job. Like, that's a job that nobody wants to fucking do. I loved the guys that did our route clearance. I love those guys. They're the bravest motherfuckers on the planet. But anyways, Shannon used to tell me, he's like, you sounded like my first sergeant that I had. But what's funny is you're a first sergeant that I can say, hey, go fuck yourself when we're sitting around bullshitting. I would never be able to say that to my actual first sergeant because there's actual repercussions to that. We're friends. I would never have been given an opportunity to be a close personal friend with my first sergeant. That's just not the way it works. You know, you fucking maybe run into each other at the bar and share a drink or something, but you're not hanging out sharing, you know, life stories and stuff. He said that's the thing that especially military guys will appreciate in something like this, especially if you have shared experiences. Rank fucking goes away. When you have two guys that are military that are sitting down in a fucking TeamSpeak channel together, that rank goes bye-bye. Nobody gives a fuck about a virtual rank in that situation. You have shared experience, and you can talk about that for fucking days upon days because of that shared experience. And that's one of the things that are really cool here is not only do we have shared experience in terms of guys that are current and prior military, but we have current and prior military from all over the fucking world. You know, so we have guys like Salvatore, who is a fucking airborne engineer, sapper, who has done multiple combat rotations and shit. And he's not with the U.S. military. But when he got deployed for the couple of weeks that they went over to train locals, I kept in contact with that dude just like anybody else I would who I know is getting deployed. You know, he was emailing me or messaging me, you know, every couple of days or so on the forums, just keeping me up to date, like, hey, this is what's going on, so on and so forth. We're all good. Telling me about the crazy shit about having to fucking walk everywhere together and having a hot weapon on the fucking base, which for anybody that's been in country, to have a hot weapon on base is a little fucking crazy when you're not, you know, base security. So I was a little freaked out. I went a little worrisome on that one. The old lady was full on fucking mom mode, but again, that guy's not even in the U.S. military. So, like, we got to sit down and bullshit back and forth about shared experiences between different, not only different elements, but completely different militaries and what the differences were and what the likenesses were and stuff like that. And that, to me, is really cool.
Yeah, you guys got a really good member in your team. I think he was the JTAC on the first joint operation that we did with you guys. Is it Hardman?
Yeah,
Hardman.
The Hardman.
The
Hardman. Yeah, that's a good dude right there, man.
Yeah, he's an ass. He makes all the rest of us look bad.
He does.
Is he Australian
Yeah.
Air Force?
Yeah.
No. He just is really fucking dedicated. Probably the most dedicated guy the unit has ever known.
You ever see Hot Fuzz? That's him.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
He's Nicholas Angel.
That motherfucker was rambling shit out, like I guess like checking in with air assets, like at the beginning of the mission. I was like, God damn, I don't know what the fuck he just said, but
Well, yeah, but he's Australian, so he doesn't actually speak English.
yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I still to this day fucking 4 out is my favorite thing to ever hear the Australian guys say. When like especially when Hardman was in Havoc 4, when he says 4 out in his accent, it sounds like he's saying far out every single time, and it makes me laugh like a little bitch. Like, it doesn't matter if we're in the middle of the field, he says 4 out and I start laughing. So kind of getting towards the end here, we'll wrap it up here shortly, but the last thing I wanted to talk to you guys about in terms of ArmA and units and so on and so forth, what are you guys kind of is there anything you guys are kind of looking forward to, like anything that's kind of on the horizon, whether it be like mods that you want to test or like new deployment ideas? And obviously I don't want you guys to give away any secrets or anything like that. Is there anything that you guys are looking forward to, you know, whether it be, like you said, you guys have a good fucking class coming through OSUT right now, like what's on the horizon for the 5th?
Well, we just I don't want to say we ended a transition phase. We're still kind of in a transition phase right now, but we do have a campaign in the works. I try to stay away from that because I lead the ground guys, so I don't want to know any of the extra intel and shit that they're gonna put together
Right.
for that. But I know we do have a campaign coming up in the works. As far as mods, I don't know. We haven't really. We got a bunch of stuff on our plate right now. As far as mods, really just looking at getting rid of stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe adding a couple things. We did use a Mark 46 for a while because that's the SF version of the M249.
Yeah.
So we did have that for a while. We ended up getting rid of it. But we're looking at bringing that back. Maybe I mean really just kind of small changes that we're gonna implement hopefully soon, and then get back in the flow of things with the campaign.
Yeah, I'd say with I don't know, the things I'm excited about is, obviously playing with you guys in the 506, you have a pretty large audience base. So,
Whoa, if you want to play with me, you better buy me dinner first.
Well, I'll tickle the pickle for a couple views. But no, what I'm getting at is, we're getting some exposure here, right? So I'm excited to see not just one ODA on the field, multiple ODAs.
Mhm.
And how do we incorporate a larger group into a special forces online gameplay where typically we're doing small units, 12 guys in an ODA. If we get 3 ODAs out there, how do we now change gears and make it a little bit more dynamic in the campaigns? So that's what I'm excited about. As far as mods go, I don't see too much on the horizon that we need to add. I think taking away some mods, I think might be on the horizon.
Trim some fat.
Yeah, we're actually doing the same thing. And I did have somebody ask in chat for any of your guys' channels in terms of YouTube and stuff. I know a couple of your guys record. I don't think anybody live streams, do they? Right? It's just recordings.
Yeah,
we have some members that come in, newer members. I'm not sure who they all are, but yeah, they do ask if they could stream and stuff. So I know people do. I can't really think off the top of my head who those guys are.
Okay. Do you guys happen to have any links available right now in terms of YouTube and website and all of that stuff that I can put in chat?
Yeah, actually, if we give them the Discord, if they have access to Discord, basically everything can be leaked from there. We have a media channel on our Discord, and
Yeah.
We'll post videos on there, so you can access our YouTube channels from there.
And we're also on Engine as well, so you can catch us there at 5sfg.engine.com. And then on YouTube, if you just do a search for 5th Special Forces Group ArmA 3, you'll come up with our team's YouTube channel, and there's quite a bit of material on there.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if I can. Where the hell? Trying to get a damn invite link pulled up here for your guys' Discord, because as you said, like the vast majority of your guys' info is available there in Discord. There we go.
Yeah, I just gave you one.
That's the wrong button.
Actually, let me double check. That's a permanent one. I don't know if it's a temporary.
There we go.
Oh, that's a 1-day link, so you got 24 hours for that.
Oh, it'll work. Oh, Lobster got it as well. So there's a link to the Discord, guys. Even if you're not necessarily interested in joining the 5th, join the Discord. You can check out their YouTube links for videos and so on. And you can also check out the website. There's links to the website via their Discord and so on. So check the guys out. Show them some love. Go sub to the channels and so on. And I expect you guys to show them the same fucking respect that you would show me. I don't shit talk unless you plan on fucking showing a video of you doing it better. So I guess kind of in closing, I want to thank you guys for coming by tonight. I appreciate you guys taking the time to hang out and just kind of bullshit for a little while and let me pick your brain a little bit. And yeah, definitely looking forward to doing some future joint ops with you guys. I know a couple of you are going to probably be coming along tomorrow for the fun op that we're doing. Tomorrow is 5th Sunday of the month. So we're going to be doing a joint op, and it's going to be mechanized and heavy armor assets. So we're going to have Bradleys and Abrams and shit out there. Like I said, we invited the guys from the 5th to come along because fuck it, why not? It's 5th Sunday. Let's have some fun. and go blow some shit up with some armor. And then, like I said, we got joint ops coming up for the deployment as well. So yeah, thank you guys for coming to hang out tonight. I definitely appreciate it, and look forward to getting a chance to work with you guys some more in the future.
We appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, guys. Well, that's going to wrap it up for the podcast tonight. Thank you guys for hanging out. Trooper, thank you for that 10-month resub. Sorry, I missed that, brother. And we'll be back at it tomorrow afternoon. We got day 4 of OSUT tomorrow at 1300, and then 5th Sunday operation at 2000, where I'm going to be doing something. I don't know. I haven't fucking decided yet if I'm going to be gunning on a Bradley or in a tank or what the fuck I'm doing. But yeah, thanks for hanging out tonight, guys, and I will see all of you later.